watching. It's all downhill from here. Please talk about finding him, and sort of, was there a moment in that audition, Alexander, where you thought, amazing, here he is?
The brief story about finding him is that the New York-based casting director, Susan Shopmaker, conspicuous by her absence here today, she and her staff fielded probably about 800 submissions from around the English-speaking, famous actors, young actors, I don't know who they are, but famous actors submitted by their agents to anybody anywhere who can just tape himself at home, upload it, and press send. But it's our duty to look at all of them. So out of those 800, I maybe watched, 50, 60, 70, something like that. We didn't find whom we were looking for. And then finally, it just came to time to do something, as other auditions were still trickling in, to call up the schools where I actually was going to be shooting, ask the drama teachers, do you have any students who might want to audition for a movie? And at Deerfield, they picked up the phone, and the lady said, yeah, we have some actors who might want to audition. And I picked up 2 actors, one guy with 2 or 3 lines, and the lead of the damn film, Dominic Sessa, who had never acted in film or television before. He was a star in the drama department, but was obviously very talented, and he had the right hair. If he hadn't had the right hair, he might not have gotten the part as easily. Where he's going to put a wig on the guy for the whole movie? So, and then it wasn't the first audition. It took about 5 or 6 to first he didn't look like the character that David and I had more or less in our respective mind's eyes imagined. He felt a little too old for the part, quite frankly. But he just evinced in successive auditions such talent and emotional intelligence and life experience that he could bring to the part. And then I got Paul Giamatti involved, and he said, this guy's, Paul was really rooting for him. And then finally, in maybe the 5th or 6th audition, I got them together on Zoom. Not that I had ever relied on what they call chemistry reads, what you people on TV do, chemistry reads. But I just kind of wanted to see the degree to which Paul naturally would be having kind of a mentor-protege relationship with him, both on camera and off. Off meaning helping, with acting tips and to be comfortable in front of the camera with all the machinery and everything. And the good news is that Dominic kind of didn't need much help. He took to it like a duck to water, and I've never seen such innate talent, not just for acting, but for film acting, technically, as he showed. It was pretty amazing to watch. And it got to the point, too, where, like with Paul, I didn't have to say much to him. And also he was playing a version of himself. It's quite remarkable that in his first big film role, here's an actual senior at an elite New England boarding school playing a junior at an elite New England boarding school.
Yeah, he nailed it. I think, having seen the character in my mind's eye, as AP says, and like he did too, I think we had kind of a similar conception. He's got this sort of natural grace to him. I'm a big fan of the painter Caravaggio, and he kind of looks like this sort of Caravaggio angel, but slightly broken, kind of like there's a intensity to him, but also a beauty to him, and it just translates organic. And like he said, in terms of being a natural film actor, I've seen a lot of actors, auditioned maybe 1,000 actors in my life just for television, and I've never seen anybody sit down in front of a camera, not immediately spike the lens, not immediately looking at like that, just graceful and natural and no artifice in a way that I never encountered,
Yeah, and impressive that someone so brand new was so revealing.
Yeah.
And it was remarkable. I thought for sure that this is just an actor I didn't know about yet.
Yeah, and totally comfortable. That's the weird thing. He seems comfortable. Like, you're not watching the film, you're watching a window into his life, and that's the hardest thing, and he just did it.
Well, he has, I can't say bad words here, but he has that lens effort
Yeah.
ability to, the big film actors, they might lie to people in real life, but they tell the camera things that they don't tell anyone else. They reveal themselves more to the camera than they almost do to anyone, to any living human. And I think he might have that.
There's a
God
scene,
help him.
there's a scene late in the second act that I won't reveal, but there's a scene late in the second act that's sort of a big monologue for him. And it's a very, very close, tight shot. And Alexander, I think, he shot it, I think it's like one of the early takes. Take one, okay. This kid delivers this incredibly heartfelt moment in a way that is so real, it just breaks your heart. And I remember watching it on the dailies and going like, oh my God, that's the first take. I mean, this kid's amazing. He's amazing.
I mean, speaking of takes, Alexander, were you going to add to that?
No.
Great. Then, Kevin, I wanted to ask you, can you convey to us the wonder of having all of these takes of the great Divine Joy Randolph?
Oh, you mean, oh yeah, well, you know what, we're just watching the film again last night, her face is so expressive. Like, it's even not dialogue, she just has this great presence, and it's so weighted when you cut to a close-up of her. And even in the beginning, I was so moved. I haven't seen the movie since January, I think. So it was really fun to watch it again, and I was just blown away by some of her moments, and plus she's a lot of fun, she's funny, she's a great character, and heartbreaking. Just, these guys did such a great job, and the script is so good because sorry, I'm just rambling, but like, you don't know the importance of the hat box. It's planted, the seeds are planted, but when she opens up that box, I heard the audience last night just go, it just takes your breath away, and kudos to you guys for that. But she does a wonderful job there too. So she's just rock solid.
Garden variety setup payoff,
The mystery box.
Yeah, but it's done so subtly, you don't even know you're getting a setup. And then, when she yells at Dom, be careful with the box. It's just another seeds planted so that it's alive, so it doesn't come out of nowhere. Yeah. You guys did a good job with a lot of that stuff.
That's true, because there are more than a couple moments in the movie that are set up, and the payoff is exceptional. And that's one of them, because I thought I knew what was in the hat box, but I did not.
Right.
And then it was the hat.
I'm ashamed to say yes.
Really fantastic hat.
I mean, I assumed that it would be like her son's hat from service, perhaps, like, because we saw his uniform in the closet and what y'all cooked up. That's why you're the filmmakers. There you go. I wanted to ask you, Wendy, about working with Alexander over the years. Because certainly, like this, there are through lines through the movies in the way that I think audiences feel about them and the emotions that they evoke. But has there been an evolution in working with Alexander that you can share with us?
That's an interesting one.
Keep it clean.
I just think our collaborations get easier and sweeter, and we get to understand each other more, and we just elaborate on our dialogue, whether it's verbal or non-verbal. And it's one of the best relationships I've ever had in my life. So I'm ever grateful for that. I mean, he has gifted me my career here in the States. So, and it's many branches thereof. So I'm grateful and love him like a friend and colleague.
Just to be clear, we've been working together since 1997, since election. Everything I've done has been with her, with Wendy.
Yes. Yes.
And was there ever a moment in this particular collaboration, Wendy, that if he saw a costume that he asked you for a change out, or that, like, to modify something, a tweak?
Yes, and that's his right and his vision, and often it's for the best. Yes.
Said often, not always.
Well, did Sam Paul Giamatti in an orange velvet at some point? Like, what was it? Was there something specific that comes to mind?
Miss Crane's dress at the Christmas party. Alexander did not like the color. But I persevered. I didn't have a lot of options to offer. So I think it worked out, and I think it suits her and her personality. So I'm happy with that.
The yellow top, you mean?
Yeah, it's a whole dress.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. Yeah.
Mark, also as one of Alexander's frequent collaborators, is there anything that you'd like to add to that as far as, working with Alexander over the years?
Well, I'd say we've worked on 2 projects. So the other one was Nebraska. That came from a very different place because that our whole relationship here developed out of what we call temp love. A bunch of my music had been temped into early edits of the film, and it kind of stuck. And we got in touch through Richard Ford, who also co-produced the music for this film with me, and is Alexander's longtime music editor, probably also going back to Election, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so it was a very different feel on that film in that I already had my template built around my own material coming into it. With this one, I would say we were starting from scratch, different feel that way. Alexander encourages me to kind of build out music even ahead of looking at picture. Not exactly doing some kind of orchestral suite for this one, but more sort of song, early 70s stuff, the stuff that he was more and less drawn to from that kind of sound, at least at the root of the cues. And yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a singular pleasure to work with him, also because he's a musician himself. He's the only director that has called out, is that a minor 7 chord when you go to that thing there? I mean, he's got some next level intel on the music side, and also really knows what he wants out of the music, which is great for me. There's specific directives because of that, and yeah.
So Ryan, as I understand it, even though this is your first time collaborating where it made it to the screen, and can you talk about that research process and interacting with Alexander about what you found?
Yes. We had prepped one other film together and traveled the world for a few months together and became, fast friends on that. And so, when he sent me this script, it was one of those things that I instantly fell in love with, of course, because the script was so solid and funny and heartwarming. And so my first thing to do is I make like a visual lookbook of research that I dive into and just to make sure that visually we're on the same page before we go and start scouting together. And so that's the first thing I do, and then share with him, and he seemed to like. And so, and then me and him are kind of the first guys there. And we spend quite a bit of time together driving around and laughing together and meeting wonderful people in their homes and taking that in. So that's a lot of our research too, is just feeling out the environments that exist. And if they offer something that we feel could work in the film, we spend a lot of time there, and we spend a lot of time with the people that live there and take that in. And I think me and him both really enjoy that part of the process where it's no other people around but me and him and a locations manager. And from there, that's when we start building the world and piecing together the puzzle pieces. But I do feel like that's one of the most enjoyable parts for me, is where me and him get that time together. Because once we start shooting, I'm running ahead of him. So that early part is really crucial, because that's where we build what it's going to look like together.
I want to add too something about the importance of location scouting, which is once I'm in the filmmaking, once we have financing, my 2 favorite parts of filmmaking are location scouting and editing. And location scouting is not just finding the right locations for the time period and for the characters. The dwelling of the characters, the office of the characters says a lot about the characters, so it's all character work. But it really helps me get to know the community in which I'm shooting. The amount, we'll maybe see 20 places for one place that makes it to the screen. but we're also meeting the location owners and and I'm getting a sense of people in that area and gently weaving myself even superficially into the fabric of the community a little bit. And all of that shows up later in the rhythm of what I want to do in the movie. And it was very important here because I really didn't know from Massachusetts. I had been there, but I had never spent much time there. And then a dozen years ago when we made The Descendants, getting to know that world in Hawaii. Even Nebraska, I'm from Omaha, not from those rural areas, but location scouting is a deeply rewarding period, I feel.
And you found actors that way too, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a good example in this movie would be
The liquor store,
yeah.
Joe Howell.
It doesn't surprise me to hear you say that location is that important to you because I think that is absolutely reflected in all of your movies, Alexander. Can you talk specifically about what interested you in this part of New England since you were unfamiliar with it before?
Well, we had the screenplay. We knew it took place in New England. I thought we would scour Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire to just find the best. But pretty soon I was told, because of the tax incentives, just stay in Massachusetts. So, all right. And so we limited it to Massachusetts, which turned out to be fine. And there were so many kind of unsung players. Ryan and I had an exquisite locations czarina named Kai Quinlan, Kai Quinlan. And she's a location manager, but not of the type anymore who's going to chip a nail putting out a cone at 4:30 in the morning. She's only there to interpret the script in terms of locations and help people like us from out of state to readily find those places. She's become like a locations artist. And once the film has been scouted, she moves on and does something else. I'd never seen that before. And she really, really helped us figure out this film. Now, on the one hand, it was nice to make a period film in New England, in Massachusetts specifically, because often change comes slowly. And we were able to find many locations which pretty much as they fell off the truck were, the Candlepin Bowling Alley and the cafe where Miss Crane works, they're as is, kind of locked in time from the 40s or 50s.
And what's crazy cool about it too is I'm from Connecticut, yeah? So I originally conceived of this, in Massachusetts, because I used to love to go up and run cross country at these gorgeously prep schools and get out of my prep school in Connecticut. But I gotta say, being from New England, we talk about New England generally as New England culture, Massachusetts culture in particular, I think people from Massachusetts who see this movie, people from Massachusetts, because you'll see the specific Massachusetts culture that I'm a Connecticut boy, New Haven boy, born and bred, right? I got up to Massachusetts, I'm like, this is completely different. I was like, this culture is totally specific to Massachusetts. And Alexander spent months there, and he managed to absorb and communicate that. Alexander, I was blown away at the specificity and the granularity of it. It's really, it's an incredible portrait of a place,
Agreed.
And all those states are so dinky.
We got dinky states, yeah.
We're Westerners. Cherry County, Nebraska is larger than Rhode Island.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Alexander, you used the word artist when you were talking about Kai, and that actually leads perfectly into my last question. I'd like everyone to address this one. That quote in the film is just it's stunning from Picasso. Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain one once we grow up. And I wanted to ask you each if you could sort of encapsulate what you have done to remain an artist as you grew up. David, let's start with you since this is from your.
I'm so glad that didn't come to me first.
I quit my first career to do this, so I always wanted to be a writer. I think I was sort of in denial or in the closet with it. I didn't know what to do with it. I felt like I come from a kind of blue collar family on my mom's side, my father's side too. And my grandmother used to say to me, you're too stupid to be a doctor, so you should be a lawyer. I'm like, that's right, she's right. I am too stupid to be a doctor. So I became an attorney, and to remain an artist, I quit my job to do this because it was an inevitability to it. I mean, I love it. I listen to the voices in my head all the time. My wife is constantly catching me walking through the house, talking to myself. and it's lucky that I don't get dragged away and medicated, but instead I kind of put it on the page. So I mean, for me, it's just about being as true to yourself as you possibly can, and not being afraid to express it, because we edit ourselves so much. And I think that's the key thing. So I mean, I've been very blessed and very lucky to do what I love for a living.
Kevin, did that spark anything for you as he was talking?
Well, editing is just such a wonderful profession, and I love doing it. And I mean, I like to think that we're pushing. It's a craft. It's like making beautiful furniture or something like that. But I like to think that I'm always pushing myself and pushing Alexander, and he's pushing me to make beautiful things and make things artistic. So I don't know if that answers that question, but
it's a lovely thing to say about a job that you love, right?
it is. It's a great job. I mean, these are all great jobs. I think all of us are here because we love what we do, and we love working on great projects and working with great people. So you can't ask for anything better than that.
I want to say, because you talked about editing as being a craft and an art, what's nice about experience, and now that we're over 40, is it's so nice when you begin to, I hate to say master craft as though we ever master anything, we're always students, but at least have enough experience in craft that you stop thinking about craft and just think about the stuff that you're expressing. Just think about the humanity, the humor, the whatever, and like that's what you're thinking about. And the craft is like beneath your feet, but while you're looking at something else.
Being truly present. Mark, does anything come to mind for you as to how you sort of retain that artist inside?
Yeah, a couple things real specific to this film. So, I grew up with a dad who was a conductor, and he was certainly a big inspiration, composer too. But again, as a kid, I idolized my older brother, and he kind of planted the seed in me just by proxy with his LP collection, which I coveted as much as I lived vicariously through it. And those were all the kind of bands I got into young and was covering. So I got to revisit some of that actually within this film again. The other side of it for me was I grew up on the East Coast as well, and I actually haven't told David this, but I lived in Sunderland and South Amherst, and Deerfield used to go up by the Candle Company and all of that, the Book Mill and all those places. So one of the real pleasures for me with this, and it's tapping into true nostalgia for me, was scoring some of the montage scenes when they're driving around that area of New England, which I did in my kind of late teens, early 20s. I love that part of the world. It's a place that I nearly moved to Great Barrington about 15 years ago, and then Portland ended up sticking, and I'm up in Oregon. But anyway, so yeah, that's directly with this film. It's really fun to tap into some of that nostalgia for me.
And Wendy, what about you? Keeping that artist alive.
I don't know any other way of being, really. I feel very fortunate that my parents supported my want and desire to go to art school and didn't force me to become a nurse like my mother wanted. They let me be and let me go, and I think I've just incorporate an artistic view in everything I do. I think it just becomes second nature. I don't think I've intended anything or wanted to be something in particular. I don't know that I even ever really desired or positioned myself into want or need to be a costume designer. It kind of came out of me by osmosis and relationships to other people and following a passion, per se. I keep it alive in all sorts of ways. Yeah.
Certainly, did so many different channels. And Ryan, what about you? Like, just in keeping that artist alive since you're a little kid, little Ryan.
Yes, little Ryan, he didn't really like school much. He loved art classes, and that was it. Like, everything else was difficult. And looking back, it's very interesting because all my memories are color-coded. Like, so now I have a job where I put color with emotion, which comes very natural to me. So it's been able to come and be, I didn't know what to do with that when I was younger. It was confusing. But now, as a somewhat of a man, I guess,
You're getting there.
I have a great place to put that now, and so that comes real natural to me. And I also have 2 young children, so in between projects, they keep me very creative, and I'm able to live through them as well and keep that alive.
How about you, Alexander? How have you, over the years, just kept the fire burning inside yourself?
I think our number one job is just to remain open. To look around and just kind of keep the channels of what you see open and make associations. And it's what you learn in, I mean, I've never taken an improv acting class, but they teach you in improv acting, yes, and. The other person says something, you go, yeah, and also having kids, man, my 6-year-old held up just some stupid looking brace or necklace the other day. He goes, Daddy, this is a magic necklace, and I can become a mermaid or a unicorn with it. And I go, oh yeah, and with the unicorn, do you sprout the wings? Yeah, but they're not very big, and like, just yes, and always in life.
I love it. Everyone make sure that you say yes to the Holdovers and then see it again. How about that?
And